Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. Jay, there's some news that's out there currently percolating based off of some reports. Courtesy of TGB, Errol Spence is petitioning the WBO to become ranked in the top 10. And I believe this is for the purpose of being able to fight for both the WBC and the WBO title in the upcoming fight against Sebastian Fundora. There was speculation that was out there that the WBO dropped him out of the rankings because they believed that Fandora was trying to do some funny stuff. At the end of the day, that commentary really never made any sense, because if Terrence Crawford is the mandatory, he's the mandatory, and it doesn't make any sense to drop Errol Spence out of the top 10 in order to make that fight. They can force that fight regardless. So, but at the end of the day, right now they're saying that TGB is petitioning on behalf of Errol Spence to make him a top 10 contender. It makes sense. He was ranked in the top 10 as recently as August. And I believe it's probably going to occur because all that's required, honestly, are dollars as it relates to these sanctioning bodies. So I do believe that eventually Errol Spence will be ranked in the top 10 by the WBO, and his fight with Sebastian Fundora will be for both the WBC and the WBO title, which will then set up a big time fight between the winner of that fight and Terrence Bud Crawford. We have been hearing here recently, and Jay, I told you this before, just based off of some of the context that I have, that there's definitely an interest to have Canelo Alvarez remain with PBC. And if that's the case, which we just recently heard, Canelo Alvarez is very happy with PBC and looks forward to working with PBC moving forward, that the likelihood of a Terrence Crawford fight is slim. Then that means that Bud is either going to retire or he's going to face one or two additional opponents at 154 pounds. I don't believe Crawford is going to retire. I think he wants 1 to 2 more big fights. I believe that it's probably in his best interest for Errol Spence to win that fight between Sebastian Fundora and Spence, because that would set up, I would say, a semi-big time rematch between he and Errol Spence. I think there will be a number of people that would want to see that fight, specifically if Errol Spence looks good. So I like the fact that they're petitioning for that fight to occur. I believe it's for the benefit of all of those fighters. I think it's for the benefit of Errol to become a 2-time unified champion. I think it's for the benefit of Terrence Crawford in unifying titles. If that occurs, he'll be unified WBA, WBO, and WBC in basically 2 fights, which will only leave Bakram as the only opponent that's left out there for him to face. So it looks good. It's shaping up quite nicely there, and I would like to see that occur. Jay, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it made no sense for Errol to be removed, number one. He had been in the ranking 5 or 6 for 3 months straight, and now say he just yanked. So it was some BS to me anyway. I'm glad Spence's team is on petitioning, so that way it makes it easier for Fandora to keep the belt as well. To your point about Bud, we need Spence needs to look good, to make the interest come back to that for a rematch, because people said, everyone said that certain things about how hard it was for Spence to make the weight at 147. He'll be more comfortable and strong at 154 to try to help him out, have a better fight for him versus Bud. So that'll be intriguing if that does happen. Fandora's not going to be an easy fight for him, but it's what we need. And Spence just needs to really get back in the swing of things. We need to find out. He needs to, hopefully he already has his training team set up. Hopefully he already has that coach and whatnot done. He just hasn't put out publicly. That's what I'm hoping. No sources if he does or doesn't, but I'm hoping that, because he needs that first and foremost. He's been out of the ring for over a year again. It's going to be, 18 months if they fight January, February, whenever they fight. It's going to be a long time. So he needs to already be training, right now, to be ready for someone like Sebastian Fundora, who has the measurables above and beyond what Spence will have, height and length, and reach advantage. But I'm excited. I'll be cool with that fight there. And this is going to be a big time fight. People can hate all they want. Spence still puts cheeks in seats, especially if it's going to be in Texas. So it'll be a good fight. Action-packed fight. The way they both their styles, both lefties coming in, do some damage. They both like to fight on the inside, so it'll be definitely a good matchup. We'll see how Spence looks after the fight he had last year with Bud, And I think the Spence fans will come back to support him for 100% in Texas for this fight. I think it'll sell big time.
No, it's definitely going to sell. I think a lot of people are interested in seeing Errol Spence come back. Errol definitely has a very loyal support fan base. And I think the fight just has more validity when you have all the belts on the line, right? You don't want to see Errol Spence go in the ring and just face Sebastian Fundora for the WBC title. You want to see both titles that are on the line because Sebastian Fundora has both titles, so WBC, WBO on the line. And like I said before, man, it's going to be in the best interest of all fighters involved, all of the participants, including Terrence Bud Crawford, right? Again, he'll be able to unify those titles in one fight. Right. And don't get me wrong. He'll unify the titles in one fight regardless. Right. I get that. Right. Because he'll end up they'll end up stripping Sebastian Fundora and giving him the title. But when I say that, he'll be unifying the titles by actually fighting. And if Sebastian Fundora is simply stripped of the titles, then he's essentially an email champion relative to the WBO, which they criticize Jaron Ennis for being, right, for the IBF. So I would hope that Terrence Crawford fans would not want Terrence Crawford to become an email WBO champion, right? I mean, he already became an interim champion when he was fighting for a WBA title. And we know that you can't become an interim champion or any kind of other champion unless you're unifying, but you specifically can't become an interim champion when you're already a champion for another sanctioning body. So already a suspect that he's the WBO interim champion. Certainly we don't want to see him email the title. So I would like to see them all win the titles in the ring, and I think that's beneficial for everybody.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, especially if Spence looks good against Sebastian Fundora, and he looks healthy at 154 versus what he looked at 147. It's going to be a real good. It's going to be, they can really publicize and really market that rematch with Bud in a different way, you know. So Spence has to look good.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to be talking about the rib injury. You know, specifically if he comes in the ring and looks good against Sebastian Fundora. Now, of course, we're on record stating that Errol was going to lose that fight regardless because some of the technical deficiencies that he showed in the fight, but certainly it still didn't look like the same Errol. I would have expected that fight to be closer than what it was. But certainly cleaning up some of the deficiencies is important. But what's more important is, you know, Errol needs to get a trainer. And maybe that's something that we need to start talking about. Who on earth is going to be Errol Spence trainer? Certainly time is winding down at this point, Jay. It's November 1st at the moment, right? So January, February is right around the corner, which is where I expect this fight to eventually take place. So Errol Spence should be getting himself ready and geared up for camp now. And right now, there's no word of who his trainer is going to be. So anyway, exactly. You guys, let us know what you think in the comment section in regards to this. Does it make sense to you that Errol Spence is looking to become a mandatory, or at least rank within the WBO, not necessarily a mandatory, but rank within the WBO? Certainly it makes sense to us. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, M Sports Media, and we are out.